Welcome into Fantasy Baseball today on Thursday, June 19th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White and a hairless Chris Towers.
Well,
it's back.
Not hairless.
Kind of.
I've got a bunch of hair.
On the top of your head.
It's not on the top of my head anymore. Yeah, no, it's great. The little promo video pictures we use for the YouTube thumbnails will be accurate again after 2 years of growing my hair. You know, this is not a joke. Haircuts are just really expensive in New York City. And I just got tired of paying like $90 a month after tip for haircuts. And so this is what I'm doing.
You know what? Perfect timing because it is heating up here in the Northeast.
Yeah.
Today on the show, I spent all day updating my rankings, and thus I have questions. We will talk about it. Emmet Sheehan made his return. We'll do a little waiver wire, would you rather, and much more. Let's jump in.
I don't believe what I just saw.
All right, let's start with Scott. Player of the night.
My player of the night is Emmet Sheehan, who made his return for the Dodgers. Very good team, very good supporting cast. After missing all of last year, Emmet Sheehan recovering from Tommy John surgery, and he looked great. He looked about as good as anybody could have hoped for. Only lasted 4 innings, but that wasn't unexpected. Allowed just 1 earned run, struck out 6, walked none, and had 10 swinging strikes on 65 pitches, which comes out to a 15.4% swinging strike rate. Very good. And that's the number I want to focus on for Emmet Sheehan, because I don't know how many people even remember him. His rookie season was 2023. That's when he made his debut. He wasn't up for the whole season. It was kind of rocky, a rocky start for him. He got sent back down for a while. But during his time in the minors in 2023, Emmet Sheehan had a 19.2% swinging strike rate. And to put that in perspective, the major league, the current major league leader in swinging strike rate among starting pitchers, Tarek Skubal, 17.2%. Remember, 19.2 is what we're comparing it to. 17.2%. Skubal is the leader right now. Last year, the leader was Logan Gilbert at 14.9%. And the all-time leader for as long as Fangraphs has this stat going back to 2002, Spencer Strider in 2023, 18.9%. So Sheehan swinging strike rate in the minors 2 years ago, 19.2%, higher than any starting pitcher has ever done on record. Now, minors to majors, apples to oranges, right? Well, what you may not remember about Sheehan's rookie season is after that stint to kind of get things right in the minors, he came back in September, made 5 appearances. His swinging strike rate in those 5 appearances back in the majors, 19.7%. Basically what it was during his time in the minors. And by the way, his rehab stint recovering from Tommy John surgery, 22% swinging strike rate. So this guy, this Emmet Sheehan, is a next level bat misser any way you look at it. And to see him come back and miss bats like this, I think is a very good sign. To throw 66% of his pitches for strikes, no walks, coming back from Tommy John surgery. Very good sign. One thing that changed for him during that impressive September stint 2 years ago, he stopped leaning on his fastball so much, started working in the secondaries more, slider, changeup. He continued with that approach. So he remembered those lessons learned from September 2 years ago and continued it here. So I know we haven't talked about Emmet Sheehan a lot since he suffered the injury, but for all the bumpy rides we've gotten from pitchers coming back from elbow surgery, from Spencer Strider and Sandy Alcantara and Yuri Perez, wouldn't it be funny if Emmet Sheehan is the one who just hits the ground running and just is great from the start? I mean, this first start back, Good first step. And I would say he needs to be picked up everywhere based on that.
And he's only 28% rostered, so widely available. I was going to ask a question about, just this lull that we have in, waiver wire starting pitchers right now. But before I do that, Chris, go ahead.
I could see in some 12-team points leagues where, you're only rostering 250 players, just not having room for him. I could see that. But yeah, no, I agree. Pretty much everywhere. There's a 40% strikeout rate in September of 2023 while working primarily as a starter. He made one appearance as a reliever. I think he threw 3 innings in that one, struck out 5. We just didn't talk about him much because he was like 9th on the depth chart coming into the season. We just didn't. It seemed like a lot would have to go wrong for Emmet Sheehan to matter, and a lot goes wrong for Dodgers pitchers over the course of the season. So, yeah, I'm very excited about it. The fastball shape looked really good. He added a couple inches of induced vertical break on that. The changeup was different. It was harder and had less movement. So that'll be interesting to see how that pitch plays moving forward. But on the whole, an incredibly encouraging first start for Emmet Sheehan.
Yeah, we know among the most added pitchers right now, Jacob Misiorowski's up at the top. He's all the way up to 91% rostered. And then, there hasn't really been much that has emerged. We've talked lately about Jose Soriano and Lucas Giolito and Brian Bayo, and, those guys are okay. But would you put Emmet Sheehan at the top of the list, even ahead of the names I just mentioned?
I think I'm ahead of all of them, yeah.
Were you including Misiorowski on
Not
that list?
Misiorowski.
No.
Okay. That would be the one that I don't even know that I absolutely want it, but it would be a close call between those two. I think I'd give Misiorowski the edge just because there's a little more attention on him right now.
And looking at the chat, someone asked Yuri Perez or Emmet Sheehan. I wouldn't drop Yuri Perez for him. I would hope you have someone less interesting. Mick Abel or Emmet Sheehan, I think that's actually a fairly easy call. I'd rather have Emmet Sheehan.
Agree.
Yeah.
Now, it's worth noting, Mick Abel also had one very good start. So it's possible that Emmet Sheehan comes out the next 3 starts and disappoints, and we're we end up where we are with. But that hasn't happened yet with him.
Is just as much the history. I mean, I mentioned we haven't talked about him much since he got injured. We did talk about him a lot before then. He was a very trendy breakout pick before he got hurt leading into 2024.
Well, here's a name. Would you guys drop Taj Bradley for Emmet Sheehan?
Yes.
And Chris, that's your introduction.
I just think he's not very good. I like the stuff when he came up was really good, and then the results were really iffy, and it was like, well, man, if he ever just figures it out. And now I just don't know if the stuff is even good. If you look at all the various stuff metrics on Fangraphs, every single pitch has declined over the last 2 years. The overall stuff looks pretty average, which is surprising because Bradley seemed like a big stuff guy when he got called up, and it was the command that was bad. Well, now it's the stuff looks pretty mediocre, and the command is still bad for Taj Bradley, which leads to a 4.35 ERA coming into this start. He gave up 7 runs in 1 2/3 innings today. So
yeah,
that's going to go way up. There will be good Taj Bradley starts. He has at least 1, possibly 2 10 strikeout games this season. He's got that kind of upside. Yeah, it was 3 starts ago. He struck out 10 on June 1st. Since then, he's given up 17 runs in 9 1/3 innings. Only 13 of those are earned, though. So, let's give him some credit there. I just don't really have much faith that the Taj Bradley upside is really even worth chasing anymore.
Entering this start, he did have a 3.50 xERA, but the other peripherals don't look as good. It's a 4.62 FIP here. His swinging strike rate is down almost 3 percentage points year over year. That seems pretty consistent with the Rays pitchers right now, aside from Pepio, who has obviously turned things around and is getting whiffs on his fastball again. But yeah, I mostly agree. Taj Bradley at 82% rostered. He is in line for 2 starts next week at the Royals, at the Orioles. And on paper, those matchups are pretty good. But how can you have any confidence using Taj Bradley right now?
You can't.
Yep. I could see doing it with those matchups in a points league, but it's not like it's a must. It's It's, man, I don't have any good pitchers going this week. I need to get some extra volume and hope to get a little bit lucky.
Yeah. And Scott, are you all right with that? Dropping Taj Bradley for Emmet Sheehan?
Hey, yeah, I mean, I had him as a bust coming in, so I'm not going to argue against myself when it looks like he's busting.
All right, my player of the night is Nick Kurtz, who very late in that final game hit another home run, 3 for 4 with his 8th home run of the season, and now has 7 home runs in his past 13 games dating back to before the injury. And overall, he's up to an 801 OPS, 252 batting average. The StatCast data is awesome. Nick Kurtz is crushing the ball. He has started 10 of the past 12 games against left-handed pitching. Mind you, he hasn't been very good. He's like 2 for 25 against lefties on the season, but they're at least giving him a chance to play, and he's playing every day. So at 74% rostered, I know I brought up Nick Kurtz just the other day. I think in any shallower leagues where he's available, I think I'm at the point where, and the rankings don't reflect this, but another good game. I think I would drop Christian Walker for Nick Kurtz, just straight up.
My rankings do reflect it. I would do the same.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet, but I can't argue against it.
Yeah, and I know first base has been such a good position, and, Arand is still hitting well, and Michael Busch has turned things on, and, Caglione hasn't hit, but the underlying numbers look really, really good for Caglione so far. So I understand it's a tough position right now, but Nick Kurtz, 74% rostered. If you were hanging on to Rhys Hoskins, if you had Christian Walker, I would drop those names for Nick Kurtz. It feels like he needs to be more rostered than 74.
He's going to blow up. I'm confident in I'm confident in the profile. I'm confident, all the more confident because of how he performed in his 40 minor league games. It just zoomed through the entire system and made it look too easy. What we've seen in the last, at this point, it's like 4 or 5 years, is that most hitter call-ups, even the most high-end ones, have about a 2-month adjustment period, and then they take off. So Kurtz came up April 23rd. He did have an IL stint that cost him a couple weeks, but basically we're coming really close to that 2-month point now. And it wouldn't surprise me if he just turned into a must-start player from this point forward.
Let me give you one more name, Scott. Would you drop Paul Goldschmidt, who we know playing time is a little iffy right now? Would you drop him for Nick Kurtz?
I mean, that would be the only reason, because just the it's hard to think along with Aaron Boone. What's going on there with basically every Yankees hitter other than Aaron Judge and Anthony Volpe and Jazz Chisholm. So I do think there's more upside for Kurtz, and with him being hot right now, he feels more useful in the immediate term, in the sort of leagues where you could even think about just dropping Goldschmidt, where you could even think about picking up Kurtz because he's already rostered. Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I know I rank Goldschmidt ahead of Kurtz right now, but rankings can't be everything to every format. So speaking to that shallower format, I think that's fine.
Scott, you put the words Aaron Boone and thinking in the same sentence. Doesn't happen often.
There's
not a lot of thinking.
You're down on Aaron Boone, huh?
Oh, I've been down on
Bring
Aaron
back Joe Girardi.
For years. Oh gosh. Look, it's they're going through it right now. It's 6 losses in a row, but some questionable decisions. We'll save that for another day. Shout out to Chris Sale, who came within 1 out of a shutout against the Mets. 8 2/3 innings here. 5 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts with 13 whiffs in this one. And he's got a quality start in 8 of his last 9. During that 9-start stretch for Chris Sale, it's a 1.18 ERA, a 0.97 whip, 78 strikeouts over 61 innings. Not really much for us to say here. I think we all rank him as a top 5 or 6 starting pitcher. He's been awesome.
There was just that stretch through like the first, 5 or 6 starts where he really didn't look very good.
And we told everyone to buy.
Yeah, no, and clearly that was the right call. And I don't think any of us really had any concern about it. So yeah, he looks phenomenal.
I think,
go ahead.
And this was very much in doubt 2 years ago. I think Chris Sale's probably headed for the Hall of Fame.
That was my next question, Scott.
Yeah. I think he probably is. I mean, he could get hurt tomorrow and never be the same afterward, and maybe that he'd fall a little short in that case. But the way this season is shaping up, I mean, particularly, I'm not saying he's the Cy Young front runner now, but with the half season plus left to go, if he continues on this pace, he'll definitely be in the discussion. And it's not unthinkable he could win a second consecutive Cy Young. So, I think that would come close to clinching it for him.
I'm pretty sure he has the highest strikeout to walk ratio in Major League history for a starting pitcher. I think it's only like Mariano Rivera ahead of him among all pitchers. He has the highest strikeout rate of any pitcher over the past 50 seasons, 31% for his career. I think he has the highest strikeout minus walk ratio. I actually don't think there's much question that Chris Sale's a Hall of Famer. The counting stats and the volume is going to be iffy, but
yeah,
you
gotta think about voter tendencies, and just looking at the WAR, I think it would fall short for most people, but it's getting up there now.
Here are the two pitchers with a lower ERA over the past 50 seasons than Chris Sale. There's only two of them, by the way. 1,500 innings. Pedro Martinez and Clayton Kershaw.
Yeah. I figured Pedro was one of them.
That's probably a Hall of Famer, you know?
And I think the threshold for what a Hall of Fame pitcher moving forward is going to have to change, obviously, just because the depth of injuries and, the way things have trended for pitchers over the past couple of years. Like, I think Jacob deGrom is going to have a case, but, people might argue against that just because of the lack of longevity. But I do think that will have to change a little bit here.
How fast will it change is the question. Because I know, Chris, you've argued before Johan Santana should be in the Hall of Fame, and his candidacy was one and done.
Yeah. I think it's going to be after like the Scherzer, Verlander, Kershaw group. After that, I think it's going to have to start to change a little bit. But
he's also 23rd in WAR over the last 50 seasons too. So like
Sale,
he's ahead of Jack Morris, who got in. I think
he got in with an asterisk. But
how many? We're probably spending too much time on this, but I love talking about the Hall of Fame.
Yes, we are.
How many votes did Felix get? Did he fall off the ballot?
I'm pretty sure he fell off.
No, he got 21%.
Yeah, I thought he stayed on.
I think Sale and Felix have a pretty similar argument. I think Sale was more dominant.
If Sale retired right now, you're saying. Yeah.
I think Sale has a better argument than Felix, but I'm happy Felix stayed on the ballot. I kind of thought he deserved to. Before we hit our first break, just a reminder that you can listen to FBT and FBT Express on Spotify. If you're watching on YouTube, you can scan that QR code in the top right corner. That will take you right to the FBT Spotify feed. And big thanks to those watching us live. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe on YouTube as well. Let's take a break, and we'll be back right after this. Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball today. News and notes. A second opinion confirmed that Cole Ragans has a rotator cuff strain in his left shoulder. He'll stay shut down for 2 more weeks before reevaluation, and just kind of ambiguous. We don't know what's going to happen here, but obviously it's a pretty serious injury for Cole Ragans. Padres manager Mike Shildt told
it is probably the best we could have hoped for.
Yes. I agree with that.
So I don't want to put too negative a spin on it. He could be back in 6 weeks, theoretically.
I think the best case scenario would be probably around 6 weeks.
The best case scenario for a bad injury.
Yeah. I mean, he could come back in 6 weeks.
We already knew he had a rotator cuff strain, but this was for having a rotator cuff strain. This is the best diagnosis we could hope for. And look, he could suffer setback after setback, never pitch again this season. It's not a done deal. But just the outlook today is rosier for Cole Ragans than it was yesterday, I would say.
Padres manager Mike Shildt told reporters Michael King will be out through next month's All-Star break. He is on the IL with a pinched nerve in his shoulder. Astros GM Dana Brown said Yordan Alvarez is experiencing a, quote, day-to-day thing. He feels a lot better. Don't really know what that means. They also said Alvarez still isn't swinging a bat.
I have no idea what this update was, but Astros are not beating they're doing it again allegations, because I feel like this is exactly what it was with Kyle Tucker, where they just refuse to give any kind of clarity publicly. And like, maybe it's true that he's day to day and tomorrow he'll feel fine and start swinging. But I have no idea, one, why we would assume that, or two, why we would trust that they're being honest about this when it doesn't seem like they have been with the two big injuries over the past year.
Bryce Harper has improved strength and range of motion in his wrist and is getting close to throwing. Alex Bregman went through some scheduled testing on Wednesday to see where his strength is at, and I didn't see any updates on this, so hopefully we get one on Thursday.
It's sounding like he's going to come back a lot sooner than initially suspected. He's talked about how he's progressing much faster than that same injury he had a couple years ago, and he is hoping he doesn't even have to do a rehab assignment. So that sounds like he is getting close to feeling like he's ready to push to return. If I know that was kind of a word salad, but yeah, that's where it's at.
Shane McClanahan received, quote, very good news from a nerve specialist this week and should resume throwing off a mound soon. Luke Weaver could skip a rehab assignment and rejoin the Yankees later this week. He is 72% rostered. Any guess as to who will close for the Yankees?
I honestly have no read on it.
I watch them every day. I think it's a complete guess.
There was a clip from Aaron Boone talking about Devin Williams, and he was very complimentary of him and the work he's done in the closer's role, and didn't sound like they were itching to move him out of the role, at least. So I think this could be, honestly, I think it could go anyway. And I might put it at like 33% chance Williams is the closer, 33% chance Weaver is the closer, 33% chance they just split it.
I'm gonna give Williams 2-1 odds that he just retains it, because that's what they wanted him. That's what they acquired him to do, and he's doing it fine now. So that's my guess.
Well, we don't know if he's doing it fine, Scott. The Yankees can't win a game, so we don't know. Brian Reynolds was placed on the paternity list, which means he'll miss 1 to 3 games. Max Scherzer recorded 8 strikeouts over 4 1/3 shutout innings in his second rehab start on Wednesday. He built up to 75 pitches and could rejoin the Blue Jays next week, it sounds like. And I still think the talent is there. I just have no idea how long his body will hold up.
Yep. This thumb issue is kind of the genesis of all the issues he's had. Like it all emanates from the thumb, and he just can't seem to get past it. And I don't know that he ever will at his age. So I wouldn't make a huge investment in Scherzer. He probably needs to be rostered. I wouldn't pick him up over Sheehan or anything, but if you have a spot to pick up an extra pitcher, Scherzer isn't a bad way to fill it, but keep your expectations low.
Gabriel Moreno has missed 3 straight with a sore right hand. Josh Smith has missed 2 straight with a minor left hamstring strain. They're hopeful that he'll avoid the IL. A couple of Rangers pitcher updates. Cody Bradford could be ready to return by early July, while John Gray could be back in late July. Max Meyer is set to visit a hip specialist. He's missed most of June with a left hip impingement. Michael McGreevy will be called up to start Game 2 of the Cardinals doubleheader on Thursday, and he's pitched pretty well here at AAA this season. 12% rostered. A name to watch there in Michael McGreevy. Not really news, but just wanted to give a shout out here. The Rays were down 8-0 in the second inning. They came back to win 12-8, and they are now just 1.5 games behind the Yankees. They were led by Junior Caminero, who went 4 for 5 with 2 runs and 2 RBI.
Caminero! Ha! Ha, Caminero!
Jonathan Aranda went 3 for 5. He actually started against the lefty, had 2 RBI in that game as well. Brandon Lau came up as a pinch hitter, hit a 2-run homer to tie the game at 8. That happened in the 5th inning, and then obviously they went on to tack on 4 more runs there and win the game. And I saw this via Opta Stats on Twitter. There have been over 450 instances in the modern era of an MLB team allowing 8+ runs in an inning to open the game scoring. Only one of those teams allowed no runs or hits the rest of the way and came back to win. That one team is the Tampa Bay Rays in this game. So boom. How about that? They are streaking right now. Shout out to them. Some prospect updates here, and we will do prospects to stash on our FBT Express, so make sure to check that out as well. The hype continues to grow for Reds' top prospect, Chase Burns, who struck out 7 over 7 innings of one-run ball at AAA. He is 61% rostered, and it feels like he has, and rightfully so, supplanted Bubba Chandler at the top, who has struggled here in June.
Yeah. I don't know that Bubba Chandler deserves a promotion at this point with the way his control has slipped. And Chase Burns, meanwhile, he's making a beeline for the majors because it doesn't seem like the minors can hold him. He's kind of the pitcher version of Nick Kurtz from last year's draft class.
He just hasn't been challenged. And the thing I like is he's thrown, I think, 69 innings this season, something around there. He threw 100 last year. So he could throw another 70 innings this season and probably be okay. Obviously as okay as any pitcher will ever be, but I don't think there's like some looming shutdown threat for Chase Burns. So I kind of think they should just call him up pretty soon. I guess they probably just, once Wade Miley implodes, which seems inevitable, then there will be a Chase Burns sized hole in their rotation.
Yeah. I didn't realize the Reds have played pretty good ball. I mean, they're 4 games over 500.
Yeah.
They're half a game out of a wild card spot right now. And look, if you get Hunter Green back, if you call up Chase Burns, it's kind of a scary rotation in the postseason, right? For a little wild card series there.
Mm-hmm.
So, man, Hunter Green, Chase Burns, it's a lot of fun there. Burns 61% rostered, so please go out, add him for now. He's obviously like the top prospect to stash. Would you guys rather pick up Emmet Sheehan or just stash Chase Burns hoping? I mean, I think he could be up as soon as like July 1st.
So the one thing that we do have to mention about Sheehan is just the next few starts are probably still going to be pretty short. He only threw 65 pitches in this one, 4 innings. I would guess we're not going to see any 100 pitch starts for Emmet Sheehan anytime soon. So it's probably going to be more like July before he's someone you feel really good about starting. I think he's a 2-start pitcher next week. And so that does change it a little bit, especially in roto leagues. But like, I think there's very little chance you're going to get any quality starts out of Emmet Sheehan anytime soon. So it's entirely possible that both Chase Burns and Emmet Sheehan are 2 weeks away from really being starting caliber fantasy options. And I do think Chase Burns is more talented. So I wouldn't prioritize Burns over Sheehan just because Sheehan's already in the rotation and we don't know when Burns is going to be up. But
yeah,
I wouldn't feel good dropping Burns for Sheehan.
It's entirely possible that the Reds are satisfied enough with their rotation, don't feel like they're going to make a strong push for the playoffs, wait until late August to promote Burns so that they preserve his rookie eligibility for next year and could potentially recoup draft picks from that. So we don't really know. It is more of a hope than a true projection that Burns gets called up.
But Wade Miley is their number 5 starter right now.
Yeah, no, I get you, but they have other pitchers they could use too if they were purposely delaying Burns, which wouldn't be unthinkable. So I would say Sheehan. Look, nobody. If you're in one of the 39% of leagues where Burns is still unrostered, you could try to let that play out longer. Sheehan might continue to accumulate value in the meantime. So I would lean toward Sheehan.
All right, waiver wire. Would you rather? Let's begin with Colton Cowser, who went 1 for 3 with a sock and a shoe, his 5th home run and his first stolen base of the season. In 12 games since returning, he's hitting .214 with 4 homers, 1 steal, 39% strikeout rate for Cowser. And Addison Barger, 3 for 4 with 2 doubles and a walk. He's hitting .275 with an .850 OPS. The data looks awesome here. You might want to use Barger as a third baseman, but they both have outfield eligibility. Would you rather Barger or Colton Cowser?
Let's let's not forget Hunter Green will rejoin the Reds rotation at some point too.
At some point, yeah.
I would rather have Barger.
I think so, yeah.
Barger's incredible. Look, you don't have this number in the notes, so I'm going to share it. Addison Barger, last 37 games, which I mark as about the time he became a full-time player. 37 games, 313 batting average, 8 home runs. The OPS is like 940 during that time. And that's incredible, obviously. And the StatCast data suggests he should be pretty incredible. So I think Barger is being slept on, especially since he has third base eligibility.
I am surprised the roster rate's as low as it is.
Yeah, 60% for Addison Barger. And looks like he has started 5 of the past 8 games against left-handed pitching. And he's been okay this season. 8 for 29, 276 batting average, 723 OPS. So hopefully he keeps getting more opportunities to play every day there. That is Addison Barger. What if I throw Cam Smith in this mix? Now, Chris and I both shared our thoughts about this yesterday. Chris said Cam Smith. I said Addison Barger. Scott, you are here to break the tie.
He's going to say Addison Barger.
Cam Smith, who just had 3 more hits. He had a multi-homer game. The batting average is all the way up to 276. The OPS is climbing, 771. Would you go Barger or Cam Smith?
I would go Barger because I think he is that impressive. I don't mean that as a slight to Smith. It's possible Smith, it's been more like 3 months that he's had in the majors than the 2-month window I referred to earlier. But it's possible he's starting to find his footing and is going to deliver up to his potential now. But I think Barger is already doing it, and it's hard. It would be hard for Cam Smith to be much better than that, frankly. So yeah, I'm going Barger.
All right, let's move on to the next one. The Battle of the Sox. We got Marcelo Meyer and Trevor Story. Meyer hit his 4th home run. Batted ball data actually looks great here for Marcelo Meyer. I didn't realize he was hitting it that hard, but it does come with a lot of ground balls and not playing against lefties. Trevor Story, solid April, awful May, and he's having a pretty strong June here. 283 batting average, 3 home runs, 15 RBI, 2 steals, 828 OPS. Would you guys rather Marcelo Meyer or Trevor Story?
I guess Story. I don't really buy it at all. I guess, okay. It depends on what you're asking. Do I need a starter right now? Or am I just stashing my bench and picking the highest upside player? If it's the latter, it's pretty clearly Meyer. If I need a starter right now, Story's hot. He plays every day. Clearly more useful than Meyer right now.
Sure.
Yeah. And I think neither are useful in a points league right now. Meyer striking out 31% of the time. So these are just names for Roto, maybe some daily category leagues, something like that. And last one, we have a triple threat match for a corner infield spot. Nolan Shanuel quietly hitting well. Hit his 5th home run here. Narrowly missed a 2nd home run in this game. And in June, he's hitting 297 with 2 home runs, 2 steals, and 844 OPS. Michael Toglia, he's back. 3 home runs in his past 2 games. He has at least 1 hit in each of 3 games since returning. And Brady House, who recently got called up by the Nationals, back-to-back multi-hit games. He went 2 for 4 with his first steal. He had 2 hard hits in this game. One of those was 107.9 exit velocity and hit very well at AAA this season. So who would you guys choose from this mix? Nolan Shanuel, Michael Toglia, Brady House?
I think it's got to be Toglia.
Yeah.
Just because the impact potential is the highest. It is a very frustrating profile because if you chase the production, you're very likely to get burned. But, so like Jake Berger or I don't know that Christian Encarnacion Strand is quite there yet, but even like Brandon Lau to an extent, it's that boomer bust power profile where he could carry you when he's hot and he will absolutely sink you when he's not. But it seems like he fixed something during that stint in the minors, Michael Toglia, and he's come back hot, obviously. And we saw him perform at like a 32 homer pace in the second half last year. So we know the power's there. I think at some point it's all going to crash again just because that's the profile. But right now, and just the overall impact possible, Toglia seems like the best choice of these three.
Chris, do you agree?
Of course I do.
That's your guy, Michael Toglia. All right, I am interested to see what Brady House can do. Obviously, he was facing Rockies pitching for this series, so very nice landing spot for him. But we'll see if he can keep this up here with the Nationals. Let's take our final break. When we return, we'll quickly run through some deeper waiver wire pitchers, and I've got some rankings questions for the guys. We'll do all that right after this. Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball today. Let's talk some waiver wire pitchers, and outside of Emmet Sheehan, pretty light night here on this side. Ryan Yarbrough, solid outing against the Angels, 5 1/3, 2 runs with 3 strikeouts here. He had a terrible start against the Red Sox a couple times out ago, but he has 2 earned runs or fewer in each of his other 7 starts. So been solid for the Yankees. Mitchell Parker, a tough luck loss against the Rockies, 6 innings, 1 run, 8 strikeouts. Chris, you can add another quality start against the Rockies here.
We're up to like 65% now.
And Eric Lauer, that's right, he's back, and now he's pitching for the Blue Jays. Solid start here against the D-backs, 5 innings, 1 run, 8 strikeouts, had 12 whiffs on 75 pitches. His first time completing 5 innings this season. And last time he was fantasy relevant was 2022 with the Brewers. Pitched in the KBO last year. Did not work out very well, but he's back. He's doing some things. He looks all right. Some deep league names. Any interest in Yarbrough, Mitchell Parker, or Eric Lauer?
Only under duress.
All right. Is that it? Chris, anything?
No, I'm just looking up Colorado Rockies stats for starting pitchers. That's 3.34 ERA, 710 strikeouts, and 657 innings of work so far this season. You can basically start anyone against the Colorado Rockies, man.
Yeah. And you really do mean that, because entering this start, Mitchell Parker's previous 9, he had a 7.50 ERA and a 1.67 whip, and still managed to have a great start against the Rockies. So there you go. Ryan Yarbrough, by the way, might be a 2-star pitcher next week. Same with Eric Lauer. I guess we'll have to wait till tomorrow to find out if they are on Scott's sleeper pitchers list for next week. Let's get into some rankings questions. Maikel Garcia continued his breakout season, 3 for 4 with his 8th home run, added 4 RBI. He is hitting .318. He's got an 877 OPS, 8 homers, 15 steals, and he entered Wednesday as the 56th overall player in Roto, averaging 3 fantasy points per game. Now has shortstop eligibility as well. So I threw him in there as my 13th shortstop. And I wanted to ask you guys, where did you put or plan to put Maikel Garcia in the shortstop ranks?
He's 15 for me, so not far. He's right behind Dansby Swanson and Brendan Donovan. If you wanted to take him ahead of those guys, I think that's perfectly reasonable. They're all 100% rostered, so that's not really a decision that you have to make. I guess the quadruple eligibility now for Maikel Garcia, sextuple if you include corner and middle. That could be enough of a tiebreaker. Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out, how did he get shortstop eligibility if they have Bobby Witt? Unless they've been playing Bobby Witt at DH sometimes, I guess.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I had not noticed this.
I didn't notice either, and then someone asked me about it on Twitter.
Yeah.
And I realized,
it's yeah.
Maikel Garcia has shortstop eligibility, so I put him in the rankings, but I don't really know how that works out, because there are a couple other players that need that DH spot for the Royals as well. So pretty interesting one there. Do you guys buy what Maikel Garcia is doing? In just this breakout has lasted nearly 3 months now. So
just to shed some light on the position thing, because sometimes people misstate it. It's not 5 starts to gain eligibility.
Yeah,
it's 5 appearances. So he could have shifted over there in a blowout scenario a few times and gotten it that way.
Fair enough.
As for whether or not I buy into Maikel Garcia, pretty much, yeah. I mean, I don't think he's going to hit 318 necessarily all year, but his expected batting average is in, I believe it's the 86th percentile.
285.
Yeah, it's high. And the strikeout rate is down. Not that it was ever bad. The pull air rate is up. Not that it was ever good, but both are trending the right direction. So you can understand the improvement there. And he's a speed source. And yeah, I wouldn't rank him 14th at shortstop if I didn't think he could come close to sustaining this.
To a certain extent, we're seeing some of what we saw last season from Michael Garcia, where early on the quality of contact data was really, really good. And it's just slowly gotten worse over the course of the season to the point where his most recent 100 plate appearances, the xWOBA is 311. For the season, it's 3-4. So that's the one thing that is keeping me from fully buying into what Michael Garcia is doing. But I think he's clearly good.
Yeah. It's just, is he this good? He is overperforming his X slug by quite a bit. So perhaps the power pace comes back a little bit, but the ability to hit for batting average and speed, I think that part of his game is pretty legit. Let's talk about Ranger Suarez, who continues to dominate this time at the Marlins. 7 innings, 1 run, 8 strikeouts, had 13 whiffs on 95 pitches. He allowed 7 earned runs in his first start back on May 4th. He has turned in 8 straight quality starts since, and he has gone 7 innings in 3 straight. It's a 2.20 ERA, a 105 whip. I've been trying to find any excuse to move any pitcher inside my top 40. Like, who is worthy of being inside the top 40? And I moved Ranger Suarez all the way up to SP 37. I think I'm pretty clearly the high guy right now, but
I'm not far off. I had him at 40 in my update today. And
there you go.
In looking at it, like, there's he's kind of just right behind a bunch of injured guys. So like moving him up to like 33, 34 wouldn't be that tough. And then you start comparing him to, like, I've got this group of Tanner Bybee, Luis Castillo, and Kevin Gausman who are all fine, but not really great anymore. It wouldn't take much to move him above those guys. And then, I don't think he's far off from being top 30.
Yeah. He's not. I have him 43rd, but Senga, Snell, King, Glass now are all ahead of him. So if you'd rather put them behind him, it becomes 39. And is not Ranger Suarez isn't necessarily worse than Luis Castillo or Kevin Gausman or some of those other names Chris mentioned. So I think we've been down this road with Suarez a couple times before, both last year and the first year he moved from the bullpen to the rotation for the Phillies, where he had a stretch like this with like an impossibly low ERA. And that exact mark for Ranger Suarez is
like a 190 ERA or something.
117 in his last 8 starts. So he's had a couple stretches like that, and then it always ends. And so I expect it to end again. He's not this good. We know that. He's probably low to mid 3s ERA, good with less than a strikeout per inning. Kind of a worse control. I don't know. No, that comparison doesn't work. So scratch that. I think he's pretty good. But I don't want to rank him according to his hottest, which we're in danger of doing right now.
He's really good. His margin for error seems a lot slimmer than other pitchers whose highs are as good, right? Like, he can pitch like Max Fried for a while. It's just Max Fried does it every single year for 6 months. And Ranger Suarez does it for 2 or 3 months. And he hasn't shown the ability to do it for a whole season yet. So
that's almost the comparison I made with Max Fried. That was the
I mean, it's a pretty
it was I felt it was over flattering, but the point, like, it's a similar profile. It's just we see Suarez maintain Fried level control for stretches when Fried has that kind of control all the time.
Fried's done it for 8 years.
Yeah.
Fried is a freak.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Gunnar Henderson, who is hitting well in June. We just need more power. 2 for 4 with a run and RBI. He's hitting .373 in the month. He's got 3 steals, a .906 OPS. That comes with just 1 home run. He's done a better job limiting ground balls in the month, but it's just mostly line drives. He's just not driving the ball in the air enough to hit for power. So I noticed Scott and I have moved Gunnar Henderson behind Trey Turner. Is there a conversation that he should start to move even lower? I mean, I don't know. Then we're talking about O'Neal Cruz, CJ Abrams.
No, I would not trade. If someone called you right now, and probably not call, text, sent an email, whatever, and said, I will give you give me Gunnar Henderson, I give you CJ Abrams.
I would not do that.
There's no way you would do that.
No.
Give me Gunnar Henderson, I'll give you O'Neal Cruz. I guess I could see it. O'Neal Cruz is among the leaders in steals this season, but it's still like a 220 batting average.
Yeah.
I still think, as good as Abrams and Turner and O'Neal Cruz have been, Gunnar Henderson has the best season among them in the last 3, let's say. So I'll still take Gunnar Henderson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was hesitant to move Turner ahead of him because I could see myself swapping him right back, and I hate doing that. But Turner obviously has first-round pedigree himself, first round from a fantasy perspective, I mean, and is living up to it. So for now, I've made that switch and put Turner ahead, but didn't think about dropping Henderson behind Cruz or Abrams.
All right, let's move on to Chris Bubich, who looked a little bit more human at the Rangers. 5 1/3, 9 hits allowed, 3 runs, 6 strikeouts, 19 whiffs. You got to love that on 101 pitches here, but did give up some hard contact. It's subpar outings in a row here for Chris Bubich. Just wonder if we need to have a conversation about the innings, which we brought up earlier in the season. He's now up to 85. He only threw 66 total innings all of last season. And he last got up over 140 back in 2022. So that was 3 years ago. Obviously, Bubich has been mostly awesome for the entirety of the season, but I do wonder if maybe we're going to start to see, maybe this is part of him looking a little bit more human.
That's the thing, is they've spaced out his last 2 starts. And I just wondered if it's kind of, I don't know if rusty is the right word, but it's just, he's not as sharp, because they've started giving him extra rest between starts. And maybe that's why, not that everything was bad in this start. I mean, he's still got a ton of swinging strikes.
Yeah.
And the control was much better than in the previous start where he had the longest layoff between starts. But yeah, he looked kind of shaky. Definitely not the Bubich we were seeing when he was starting every 5th or 6th day. So obviously that's intentional. They've spaced out his starts more. They're trying to do the sort of thing the Braves did with Reynaldo Lopez and Chris Sale last year.
Mm-hmm. And still are doing with Chris Sale, by the way. He had 8 days off between his starts this week.
Though they hadn't been doing it as consistently with Sale. Not to get off on that tangent. I think as long as the Royals stay in the playoff race, and they're on the fringes of it now, so it may not be long, but as long as they are, given that Bubich is a free agent after next season, and it's not like he's a long-term investment for them, I don't think they're going to do anything too drastic as far as shutting him down. I think they're going to build in some kind of extra rest like they've been doing. But if they do fall out of the race, then all bets are off, because they might just want to put him on ice till next year.
And that's not the only concern. The other concern is just that he's able to pitch. They don't shut him down. He's just not as effective. I don't know how likely that is. The stuff has still looked pretty good to my eyes when I've watched him, but yeah, he hasn't thrown this many innings in 3 years. So he's thrown 82 pitches total in the previous 2 seasons. So yeah, running into some rough patches wouldn't shock me.
All right, let's talk about Ronald Acuna, who continues to mash since his return. He went 1 for 3 with a walk in his 8th home run. He's batting .390 with a 1215 OPS so far. He is just hitting the crap out of the ball. And Chris, I know you're the only one of us 3 that maintains overall rankings. You have the trade chart. How high has Ronald Acuna kind of skyrocketed up those?
Yeah, he is my number 6 player in Roto and number 5 in head-to-head. And I'm not sure Corbin Carroll should be ahead of him in Roto. That one's really close, but I think the power is probably pretty similar. Carroll's going to steal more bases, but The batting average is a little tough for Corbin Carroll. It's better than it was last year, but he's hitting like 255 right now.
Is his strikeout rate still really high?
Yeah, 254 for Carroll.
Yeah, and his swing just seems unconducive to batting average at this point. He had a low XBA his rookie season as well. Acuna, as a hitter alone, looks as good as he's ever looked. I also saw today he's averaging 97.5 miles per hour on his outfield throws, which is bonkers.
That throw against Soto, yes.
Yeah, that was awesome. So cool. That was so good. I think you can make the case for him as the number 3 player in fantasy rest of season.
So behind just Judge and Ohtani, right?
Yeah, because Witt hasn't been quite as good as a hitter. He doesn't seem like an elite stolen base source anymore.
Ellie has really picked things up.
Ellie, but I think we kind of know how that works, right? Like he's going to have stretches where he's the best player in fantasy. He's going to have stretches where he's super frustrating. I think Acuna is clearly a top 10 player rest of the way. And I think anywhere from 3 and on is not too high.
I think 3 is counting on him to not to be a 70 steal guy, but to get back to at least being a 30 steal guy. And because he has only the 1 steal and in not a true, it was kind of in a weird situation. It wasn't just him being aggressive and stealing bases. I think that's very much in doubt. I'm hopeful he'll get back to that because I think he really wants to. And I don't think the Braves are necessarily preventing him from doing it, but he hasn't shown it yet since returning, and you can understand why.
But man, if all he is 2023, but without steals, that's still not better than Ohtani and Judge, but that's better than anyone else, I think.
I think it's unrealistic to see that he's going to hit 335 with 43 homers. Is that it?
Yeah, something like that. 41, yeah.
I mean, based on his exit velocity and barrel rate so far, I mean,
it's unrealistic. It's certainly not impossible.
Yeah, it is within his range of outcomes.
His strikeout rate is more than twice what it was that year.
That's the biggest difference.
That's true. Let's wrap this up with Bailey Ober, who was having another subpar outing before the rain hit that game. And I think it actually went final in 6 innings there. The Twins and the Reds, 5 2/3, 9 hits, 4 runs, 5 strikeouts here, 0 walks. Nice to see. That's kind of our consolation here for Bailey Ober, who had 6 walks in his last outing. But either way, he still has allowed 4+ earned runs in 3 straight. He has a 4.54 ERA and a 1.40 WHIP. We all dropped Bailey Ober outside of our top 45 starting pitchers, and I just wonder if maybe that should be even lower for Bailey Ober.
Well, it depends how you're interpreting the rankings. Who do I want to start most right now? Definitely lower. I think Ober's unstartable until he figures out this mechanical issue. But I kind of have faith in him doing it because it seems like the Twins and Ober and in the articles I've read about it express optimism that he's going to figure it out and that he's making progress in certain ways. So I'm giving him that benefit of the doubt. I don't want to be quick to drop him. Could he be lower than 45th? Could he go as low as 60th and still not be in the droppable range? Sure. I think 45th in my rankings puts him kind of below a tier of pitchers I absolutely wouldn't drop for any reason, and ones that I could see it happening if they have a bad enough run. So that's probably why Ober landed there for me.
It's worth noting, before the most 3 recent starts, from the start of April through the end of May, so 2 full months, he had a 2.43 ERA. The strikeouts were low, but the walks were also lower than normal. He had a 3.23 FIP. I understand that the bad starts have been really, really bad. I was surprised I saw a stat that like Chris Paddock became like the 4th Twins pitcher to give up 8 runs or more in 2 starts twice in a season. And Bailey Ober hasn't done that somehow. I was kind of surprised by that. He only gave up 7 in that second start, but I don't want to overreact to 3-4 bad starts because that's what it's been for Ober. So
with an actual explanation behind them.
Yeah. So I'm not optimistic. I am hopeful.
Mm-hmm. And again, that's why you guys are here, because I'm much more emotional. I just want to drop Bailey Ober way down the rankings. How can you do this to us? But It's a very
You
fair
take it
explanation.
personally.
Yes, I honestly do, and that is a problem in my
That's
my
the Yankees
fantasy.
fan in you.
That's my fantasy analysis and fantasy playing. Yes, it is a problem. Let's wrap up here with some leftovers on the hitting side. Alec Boehm, 3 for 4 with a walk. He had an awful April, but since the start of May, he's hitting .339 with an OPS near 900. So good on Alec Boehm. Big game for Bryson Stott, who went 2 for 3 with a sock and a shoe. His 5th home run, his 12th steal, and he desperately needed it. He was struggling immensely. Bo Bichette stayed hot, 3 for 5 with his 10th home run of the season. Nice game for Vlad Jr. He reached base 5 times here, 2 for 2 with 3 walks and 3 RBI. Matt Olson hit a home run, and in his last 28 games, he's hitting .306, 8 homers, and OPS over 1,000. Matt Olson is back. Wyatt Langford trying to pick things back up, 3 hits here. Last 8 games, he's had batting .314 with 2 home runs. And
I wrote about Wyatt Langford today in the trade values chart. If you want to check that out on CBSSports.com, I wrote about kind of 3 guys who I think are really hard to rank right now. And it's Hunter Goodman, Wyatt Langford, and Seth Lugo. And Langford, the one thing, it's been another disappointing season, reasonably so. He's on a 30 homer, 25 steal pace. Like, for being disappointing, that's pretty good.
It just feels
And
a little
that's
empty.
with an IL spot stint.
Yeah. It just feels a little empty because the batting average and OPS are
Oh,
low.
and the runs and RBI, I think, are really bad too. I think he's only got like 33 of each or something like that. So it's been mostly the home runs and steals, but I was surprised by that. The quality of contact has taken a big step back for him, at least in the last month or so. So hopefully he's starting to turn it around.
And the last name here is Jose Altuve, who went 3 for 4 with his 12th home run, had 3 RBI. And in June, he's hitting .310 with 3 homers, 2 steals, 883 OPS. All right. That is the Jose Altuve that we need. Some pitching left over is Garrett Crochet. Looked great at the Mariners. 6 innings, 1 run, 8 strikeouts with 17 whiffs on 96 pitches. Luis Castillo on the other side, a quality start, 6 innings, 3 runs with 5 strikeouts. Quietly has a quality start in 6 of his last 7. Nick Lodolo, a quality start against the Twins, 6 innings, 2 runs with 4 strikeouts. And Framber Valdez, a quality start, kind of. 6 innings, 2 runs, but 10 base runners here. 5 hits, 5 walks, only 3 strikeouts. So seems pretty fortunate to wind up with a quality start here. Anything on Valdez, Lodolo, Luis Castillo, and Garrett Crochet?
Okay, everybody's pretty much holding serve here. Crochet, I just want to point out, like, he's a legit 5-pitch pitcher now. It's pretty impressive the way he has expanded the arsenal to where, he's got very different looks. He basically never faces lefties, and for good reasons. That feels like it would be a horrible experience if you're a left-handed hitter, but he's got that changeup now that he throws like 6-7% of the time against righties, and it's got a really good whiff rate, and the cutter remains awesome. And yeah, he's just really good. Whatever skill concerns there might have been are completely gone. It's just a question of whether he can hold up. But he's one of the 3 or 4 pitchers one of the 3 or 4 best pitchers in baseball, I think.
All right, let's get into the call to the bullpen. And for the Red Sox, Aroldis Chapman was used in the 8th inning with a 2-run lead, facing the top of the Mariners lineup, Dylan Moore, J-Rod, and Cal Raleigh. He retired all 3. Kind of frustrating usage. Not the first time we've seen Chapman used this way this season, but
especially lately. So Greg Weissert worked the 9th for the save following Chapman. And Weissert has 3 of the Red Sox last 6 saves now. Well, Chapman has 2 during that time. So, Chapman's still the one to roster here, but it does seem like Alex Cora is playing matchups a little more late in games, and that's going to be frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of playing matchups, the Phillies, Orion Kerkering got the 8th inning with a 3-run lead, facing 9-1-2 in the Marlins lineup. Then Matt Strahm got the 9th. He allowed a run on 3 hits, but picked up his 4th save.
He was about, 3 feet away from blowing this one, though. I think Nick Castellanos caught the final out at the wall with 2 runners on. So, yeah, or maybe a runner. It might have been to tie it. I can't remember the exact situation, but he almost blew the save.
I don't know that we're any closer to figuring out the Phillies bullpen. I kind of feel like they're just going to play matchups.
Mhm.
If big lefties are coming up in the 7th or 8th, they'll use Strom. Maybe it'll be Kerkering in the 9th inning. I kind of think Romano is on the outside looking in for now. Maybe he's like 6th, 7th inning usage.
Yeah.
But in deeper leagues, I think both Kerkering and Strom could pick up saves here in the near term.
Agreed.
For the Angels, Kenley Jansen got the 9th inning with a 1-run lead. He struck out 1 for his 15th save. For the Royals, Carlos Estevez got the 9th inning with a 3-run lead, picked up his 20th save. For the Rockies, Seth Halverson got the 9th with a 2-run lead. He struck out 2 for his 5th save and has each of the last 2 saves for the Rockies.
And 3 this month.
Yeah.
I was wrong. He might
Rockies
give you a
are-
save each month.
Rockies
Take
are winning
that.
games.
Take that,
I
Scott.
mean, the Nationals are a game away from consecutive sweep losses to the Marlins and Rockies.
Oof.
That'd be pretty embarrassing.
Did you guys see those quotes from Dave Martinez? I think it was last week, where he kind of
I
just,
understood what he was saying. I didn't think he should have said it.
for those who didn't see, it was along the lines of, he was saying it's never the coach's fault. Sometimes the players just need to play and show up. Kind of
Yeah, he was saying like the coaches are doing what they can. The coaches are putting in the work. The coaches are doing their jobs. It's on the players to perform, which, like, of course it is. It is on the players to perform.
It just doesn't sound
You
great.
probably shouldn't be saying that, though. Yeah.
For the Guardians, Emmanuel Clase picked up his 16th save. And for the Padres, Robert Suarez got the 9th inning with the game tied. And he allowed a walk-off homer, his 3rd loss of the season. And he's kind of going through it here. Robert Suarez, he's, over the past month, he struggled.
Yeah. At some point, if it continues for long enough, they'll have to consider other options. I don't know whether that's going to happen or not, but he's on thinner ice than he was, I would say, and something to keep an eye on.
All right, to stream or not to stream on Thursday. Just realized I did not update Friday, so that kind of stinks. And I didn't put any of the doubleheader games in here either, so we'll kind of do it on the fly. But the names that I do have here include Eric Fetty against the White Sox, Nick Martinez home against the Twins, Cade Horton against the Brewers, Edward Cabrera against the Phillies, Charlie Morton at the Rays, Colton Gordon and Jacob Lopez are facing each other.
Are all 3 of those rainouts going to be doubleheaders Thursday?
I don't know. Let's find out together. Because I did
almost every team was already playing Thursday.
If it is,
Looks like 2 of them are.
Scott, we are going to have a mess of a Thursday night podcast.
Yeah, Pirates, Tigers are doing it, and Cardinals, White Sox are playing a doubleheader today.
I think that means we have 16 games on Thursday. My gosh.
No, Scotty doesn't know.
No, definitely not. We also get Michael McGreevy against the White Sox. That could probably work out pretty well.
I guess I actually have to recommend pitchers here, huh? Don't mind Nick Martinez. Did somebody already say that?
No, but he's all yours if you want it.
Against the Twins. Does Mizorowski not qualify? Is he too rostered at this point?
He's like 91% rostered.
Oh, he's going against the Cubs anyway, so.
I think I would.
Waka too rostered?
He's too rostered. I think I would go both Cardinals against the White Sox. Fetty, McGreevy, and Nick Martinez.
I guess I don't love any of these. Also, Adrian Hauser is not making the start against the Cardinals. I don't know who they're going to replace him with, but he's on the
it's Mike Vassell
paternity list, I think.
Yeah, Mike Vassell and Sean Burke for the White
Also, we should note, shame on whichever manager didn't adjust their rotation so we could get Skeen Skubal tomorrow. I guess the Pirates are starting Heaney in game 1. They should have shifted Heaney to game 2 and given us Skeen Skubal. And a 1:00 Skeen Skubal game on a national holiday? How do you deprive us of that? Come on.
Yep. I mean, that sounds like the Pirates.
Ridiculous.
No. And then on Friday, let's see what we got here. A lot of TBDs, according to MLB.com. We have Davis Martin at Toronto, Andre Palante against Cincinnati, Brady Singers at the Cardinals.
I don't hate Mike Burrows against the Rangers. I don't love it, but I don't hate it.
Clayton Kershaw against the Nationals.
if the Yankees get shut out again tomorrow or struggle again tomorrow, we're starting Tomoyuki Sagano at Yankee Stadium.
Probably.
Yeah,
Not me.
I don't think I would do that. I don't think I would do Davis Martin at the Blue Jays. They're suddenly pretty hot. Would not do Bryce Elder versus the Marlins.
Against the Marlins? Come on.
No.
He couldn't even
You
pitch
know
well
who's
against
worse?
the Rockies.
Yeah, you know who's
All
worse
right,
than the
well,
Marlins?
It doesn't.
Um,
That doesn't mean that it will always be so.
not Gomber at home. Yeah, not a lot of options. Maybe Hunter Dobbins versus the Giants. I don't really buy it, but he's been good lately.
Yeah. I will go ahead and say Kershaw, Brady Singer, and Mike Burrows.
I'm fine with that, yeah.
Cool. All right, we're going to wrap there for Scott and Chris. I am Frank. Thanks as always for tuning in to Fantasy Baseball today. Please make sure to follow and leave a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify. And we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.